Chris Bishop, Leader of the House, Minister of Housing, Minister for Infrastructure and MP for Hutt South. He was part of a big caucus, start-of-year caucus retreat for members of the National Party. That's national MP members, got together in Christchurch over last weekend to talk about, well, the year ahead, their first full year as the senior partner in a three-way coalition government. What went on there? What was the message? And what are the plans? Well, to find out, we're joined by Leader of the House, Chris Bishop. Chris, nice to have you on the program. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, Sean.
All right. A bigger caucus retreat than you've had for a while, right?
Yeah, 49 of us down there. I think last time around it was 34. So 15 more.
Okay.
Before, so the biggest national caucus I've been involved in since 2014, 15, 16.
Yeah.
So, we're very happy.
Well, but there are challenges with that. Look, the mainstream media were telling us it was all about the need for discipline and that everyone was told they had to be disciplined. You always have to be disciplined in politics, so I'd take that as read. Apart from that, what was the mood? Was it one of excitement, one of a sense of foreboding, one of optimism, or one of relief?
I'd say a mixture of cautious optimism and real excitement about the future. So, for a lot of new MPs, they've never been MPs before. Half our caucus are new MPs, so they're obviously, they're exhausted at the end of last year. Some of them have given their maiden speeches, but many of them haven't. So they're all sort of rounding the corner into the new year, excited about the year ahead. And those of us who have been around for a while and in the sort of more senior roles, I suppose you'd say, are both excited about the year ahead and optimistic, but also really cognizant of the challenges that we face as a country across multiple different areas, and that's ultimately why the election result went the way it did, and that's why we've got a lot of work to do. I think cautiously optimistic. I think the government's made a good start so far, and it's made a good start to the year. The Labor Party seems to be completely asleep.
Well, they do. They seem to be on holiday.
Yeah, I think they've taken a few weeks off, Sean. It was a pretty bruising last few months to 2023 for them. But of course, the public expects us to deliver, and so I spent most of the summer working. So have many of my colleagues, and we're just keen to hit the ground running once sort of life goes back to normal, which is basically from today. So we got our first cabinet meeting today. Yeah.
Is there post cabinet today then? Tuesday post cabinet?
That's a good question.
Oh, we'll find out. Ben will find out for me later on. 49 MPs. It's by modern standards, it's a pretty big caucus. And I don't mean this question in a negative way, but what happens in any caucus, from my observation, is often you get subgroups form, caucuses within caucuses, people who have similar goals, identities, ideals. They naturally form groups. I think of the Fish and Chip Brigade for Labour and others. Do you have little subgroups, not saying they're a negative thing, but they have communities of interest forming within your caucus?
No, I mean, we work really hard to try and build an inclusive team culture. I mean, look, it's like any workplace, right? It's like 50 people on an office floor, so some people get on better with others than they do with other people and things like that. We're humans at the end of the day. And so, people have got friends and people who they know well, people who they don't know that well. And sometimes it's just a function of geography. I live in Lower Hutt. Nicola's around the corner from me. The geographic sense I know her quite well. There are some colleagues I don't know that well because they're in different parts of the country. I see them, 3 days a week when you come to Wellington, and, it's morning, noon and night you're working and things like that. So we do work really hard to do sort of, social events. And that's part of why we had the 2-day caucus. So we had, a couple of very low-key social events, just essentially dinner, some partners there as well, a chance to get to know colleagues. So we do work really hard at that, and I know the Labor Party does the same thing. They face exactly the same problems as we do with that. But that sort of cliquey behaviour, those days from the 2017, 18, 19 period, I'm proud to say, are long.
Okay, so you're having to have a more inclusive, all-inclusive party or caucus.
That's right. And look, clearly people, talk to the people they came into Parliament with.
Yeah.
So, I came in as part of an intake of 14 MPs. We're down to 7, so we've halved in number. I think Judith Collins is the only one left from the O2 intake.
Yep.
Only the only one left from 96, and I'm not sure there's that many people left from 1999. I'm not even sure if there are any, to be honest. 05's now getting a bit sit on the ground as well, so yeah.
Jeez, stop making me feel old. Chris, the other thing is that the political year has kicked off, as it always does in New Zealand, with, in fact, a little early, with Ratana and Waitangi. And contentious, the mainstream media would have us believe, incredibly contentious issues. We have had since the election the mainstream media, Television New Zealand in particular, telling us there is about to be a Māori revolution. That you're part of a fascist, racist, white supremacist government. It would seem to me, though, that the National Party has largely left it to ACT and New Zealand First to fight that battle in terms of public perception. You guys have stayed pretty well out of it, apart from Tama, who I thought has done a superb job in charting a middle ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there's a range of coalition commitments that we're giving effect to, and that will play out over the course of the year. There's also a range of commitments the National Party made in opposition that we've carried through to government. So just establishing the Maori Health Authority, for example, was a commitment we made in opposition that we intend to see through. And that's not because of some of the more inflammatory language that you're seeing thrown around the place around that. That's because we don't believe a separate bureaucracy and a separate system will do right by Māori. We would rather direct resources to the front line, work with some of the effective iwi health providers, for example, that are doing, for the most part, an excellent job. So it's a function of both the principle that we believe in one system, but also a function of efficacy and efficiency as well. So, there's this time of year, my sense, I've been around for a while, this time of year, Ratana, heading into Waitangi, there's always, conversations and discussions, and sometimes
argy-bargy, I think, would be a better word to use. There's always argy-bargy, Chris. A bit of argy-bargy, and sometimes they can get heated. We've got Ratana tomorrow, Waitangi in a couple of weeks, so I think that'll play out. Can I just ask you, you said one bureaucracy, not two bureaucracies. Does that underlie the fact that the National Party considers that Māori never ceded sovereignty with the treaty? Or did cede sovereignty with the treaty?
It's not the philosophical basis for it. That's a, as you know, Sean, that's a very vexed question.
Is it, Chris, to most New Zealanders, most people who vote National, is it a vexed question? I'll ask it directly then. Does the National Party believe that Māori ceded sovereignty when they signed the Treaty of Waitangi?
Well, the treaty is the foundation document for the country, and legal beagles would tell you that sovereignty was given to the British Crown in New Zealand through a range of means. Through a range of means, one of which was the treaty.
Okay, so you're saying the treaty did cede Māori sovereignty?
Well, in the sense that the Crown has the right to rule, and it became, we became essentially a colony of Great Britain.
Okay, that's a yes.
But of course, the treaty also made protections around taonga and Maori land, forests and fisheries.
And we've got an obligation to... the Crown, I'm not the Crown, has an obligation to honour those things in the treaty, doesn't it?
That's right, and equality of citizenship as well. So, these are the vexed issues that we are dealing with.
But it's not vexed to say that Māori ceded sovereignty, because that's what you've told us this morning.
Well, the sovereignty was ceded to the Crown in a range of ways.
Okay, so that's a yes. Just want to clarify.